I gotta give Hunter credit. I mean, he knows how to get with the ladies for the freaking show. Okay, that was kind of a bad intro. How is everyone doing today, guys? My name is C-Codes, and we are back with another episode of the Owl House. This is episode 32 of the series, episode 13. Sorry, it takes me a second to remember. Episode 13 of season 2, Any Sport in a Storm, which is, yes, I mean, interesting title for this one because, I mean, granted, I don't know if it's like a reference to anything. I didn't check for that. I don't know why, but this episode really, it's both really intriguing and really straightforward once you realize just, that pattern with Hunter so far, because okay, sorry, just, it's early in the morning and I'm really tired, so just want to get these out, because, I mean, I'm in school, so don't really have exactly a lot of time to go through each of these, but I also want to talk about them and just, so let me just talk about them. So of course, this episode primarily focuses on Hunter and Willow this time around, which I'm really glad we're getting episodes with other characters of the show, because I mean, I didn't have too much of a problem with it, because I felt like Dana and the crew knew what they were doing. They wanted to give the characters more to do. So, I mean, just the first half of season 2, you didn't have a lot of time with that, and because you needed to work on all this other stuff. And really, the latter half so far is allowing for episodes like this, because one, the way they do it is really clever, because as I mentioned before, Hunter, with every episode he's in so far, has some influence over him, because he's dealing with, I mean, you had Hunting Talisman, where he had the team up with Luce, then you had Eclipse Lake, where he and Amity were going after the same thing, and then in this, you have him and Willow, which I really found intriguing, because one thing I didn't even think about for this was the fact that they're half witches. I mean, I guess we kind of didn't confirm that with Hunter beforehand, because I think most people just figured that, he talked about it. He said that his ancestry, his bloodline was known to not have magic, so I just assumed that, he is just not a witch at all. But no, it's like he's a half a witch, which, okay, that's interesting. I mean, that is a nice little connection for him and Willow, but I mean, of course, the bigger connection between the two is them having the different viewpoints of being kind of outsiders trying to be more than that. Because for Willow, I mean, beforehand, before she met Luce, she was not herself. She had the fallout with Amity when she was a little girl. She wanted to be plant magic, but her parents wanted her to do abomination magic because there was better job opportunities, I think was the thing for that. And she was bullied. So, I mean, now that she is really being allowed to go unleash her true full potential, she is really blossoming into a more confident, more stoic character for the team. And she proves that in this episode, because she wants to start a flyer derby team, which is, at first I wasn't entirely sure how Willow was going to do with this, because I originally thought she was going to go a little overboard to try and really overcorrect everything that she wanted, that she hasn't done in the past. Now I felt like she was going to try and do too much and realize, I got to hold back. But then I was thinking, that's something Luce would probably do. But again, that just shows the influence that Luce has had on her and, everyone else. I mean, because I feel like some of the things they do is, they're in the moment, they're like, well, what would Luce do in this moment? How would she do? But I do like in this that Willow is she's a really good leader, but she isn't afraid to go a step further. And what I mean by that is, of course, with Hunter, because Hunter is honestly, I mean, I wouldn't say he's like the main character of this episode. I mean, because I mean, really, it gives him and Willow for this, because Hunter originally, he's at the Emperor's castle, he's just doing his thing, and then he gets a letter from Bellows talking about how Bellows is out. So I mean, who knows what that means? But Hunter is required to be in charge for the day, and at first, he's like, okay, so I get to lead the Coven heads, and we get to decide what we're gonna do. But then the Coven heads are like, yeah, no, we're not doing anything today. We're just calling the day. And there were two things that I noticed. One is Rain in this. I mean, because they don't say a word. They don't say a word, of course, because they're under the influence of the plant head. I already forgot their name. Snapdragon's the last name. I completely forgot the first name. It's been 2 weeks since Follies of the Coven Day Parade. But I did notice that Rain, of course, Hunter's like asking the Coven heads to come back. Wait, we have a meeting. Rain, I like that they give Hunter kind of a sympathetic look before, they have to move, because, the head of the plant Coven is like, no, we gotta keep moving. But then, of course, Hunter is like, what? And then his interactions with Darius was very, at first, it's about what I expected between the two, because Darius, he tries to be the noble, clean head of the Abomination Coven, and he doesn't want anything to do with kids, especially the prince of the Emperor's Coven. And yeah, like, their interactions are about what I expect. He doesn't want anything Hunter to do, but of course he tries to leave Hunter off by, it's like, oh, you need to be more, you need to actually prove yourself that you can be capable of this. And Hunter's like, how do I do that? And he's like, I don't know, go recruit. Basically, because Hunter, honestly, every single episode with Hunter, you just feel bad for this guy, because it introduces something different about him each time. I mean, for Luce, it was, having everything planned out for him, so that doesn't really allow him to have his own, I let him do his own thing. Then in Eclipse Lake, it was him with that fear of letting those that see him as special down, and like having that be like his drive. And in this episode, it's him really being like an outsider to things. Even in the Emperor's castle, he's kind of an outsider to these people, because I mean, he's a kid while everyone else is a bunch of adults, so it's like he doesn't really know what it's like to interact with other kids, like outside of even Luce and Amity. Like, so what he does is, because he wants to try and recruit new people for the Emperor's Coven, he goes to Hexside as an undercover student. I do like that he just has, because he's like, oh, Yellow, so he has disguises himself as a Potions Track member. And yeah, so he goes undercover because he wants to find recruits for the Emperor's Coven. But of course, like I said, because he's an outsider, he doesn't really know how to interact. He just walks up to a bunch of kids and he starts babbling about, the Emperor's Coven, what it means to be a recruit, what it's like there. It's like, oh, you're just gonna have to leave everything. You leave your family, your home, everything you love behind, so you can go to the Emperor's Coven and do all these crazy trials, like, I don't know, witches duels, or you get left on top of a mountain and you have to see if you can survive. It's like, yeah. I mean, for Hunter, of course, because he's lived with that, he doesn't find that too, weird or threatening or dangerous or really, really sinister, I feel like. But everyone else is like, yeah, no, we don't want that. We're not doing that, because obvious reason is obvious. So, I mean, yeah, he doesn't know what he's doing. All the while, he still has his Cardinal talisman, which I mean that makes sense because Cardinal or Robin? Dang it. I feel like you'd think I would know that, but I don't. But yeah, he's just trying to be a student, but doing a terrible job. But that is until he runs into Willow, or actually no, he doesn't run into Willow. He accidentally bumps into Viney and her Griffin. Pebbles, I think, is the Griffin's name. I think. Again, it's early in the morning. I'm tired. Yeah, so like the Griffin, gets mad because Hunter accidentally stepped on its tail, so then Hunter has to fly and try and avoid it. And I really do like how anytime something is like, it's like you're looking. I love these sports movies where it's like, I'm looking for this athlete that's gonna be the best of the best, and then then all of a sudden a person comes in and does everything you need for them to be. And for Willow, that's Hunter, because he literally does everything that she saw in the Flyer Derby video that she was looking at. It's like, oh, they can fly, they can go head to head with some of the most dangerous players, or in this case a Griffin, just so they can grab a flag, or in Hunter's case his own shoe back. So I really do like that. And so, yeah, that's exactly what happens, Hunter shows off his flying skills and presses Willow, so Willow wants to use him as their team because they're trying to make a team for Hexside. However, this was weird because the Abomination Professor was really out for Willow in this episode. I mean, it's just like, wow, that is... What? I mean, Gus kind of tried to point it out. It's like, you're just mad because you dropped out of your class for the Plant Coven. It's like, yeah. But at the same time, it's like, do you really just, it's like, I don't know. That was probably a weird, thing. But I imagine it's just like, well, we need to get a motivational thing somehow for this. Like, how do we get this thing moving? It's like, the Abomination Professor, act like a jerk for no odd reason. But yeah, so basically that's the thing, because like I said, Willow is trying to start a Flyer Derby's team, and so the only way they get to actually do it is if they beat the Abomination Professor and his team, because he was a pro Flyer Derby player, I think. Yeah. Back in his prime, my prime. I mean, he really just shows a poster of him just with he's like, yeah, and I'm like, that can mean a lot of things. But yeah, so Willow, she has to get a team together, and so she goes for Hunter. And the reason why she can't get Luce or Amity is because there is this subplot, which honestly, I gotta give him kudos to Dana and the crew for doing this, because I think it's just really being meta with the fan base. So the subplot is Amity and Luce hear that the author of the Azora books is actually in town, and they're gonna be signing books and stuff. And so Luce and Amity just are like, wait a minute, because that's the thing about the Azora books, is because they're both in the human realm and the demon realm. So Luce is like, oh, the author must be human. And Amity's like, no, the author is a witch. And so they even look in the back on the book, on the cover art for the author's page, and they notice one has round ears, the other has pointy ears. And it's like, what? So that's the thing, Amity and Luce, they're like, oh, wait, so what does that mean? So they decide, okay, well, we got to figure out what this means, because obviously if they are from two worlds, it's like, could that mean there is a way to get back to the human realm? And so that's exactly what they do. They go to see the author, but I love how the entire way they're just throwing out theories left and right. It's like some of them seems a little bit, some of them seems very, it really was just shouting fan theories from the comment, from just the fan base itself. It's like, oh, maybe it's Ida. I mean, it would make sense because of her spelling errors and stuff, and she didn't want to express her true thoughts on magic. And it's like, no. It's obviously your mom as a teenager wanting to guide you as a witch. And it's like, no, that doesn't make sense either. It's like, again, really funny, really cool theories between Amity and Luce, and again, it makes sense for them because they're kids, they're, and a lot is probably going through their heads in the moment, being like, thinking like, wait, this author's from two different worlds, and pretty much that is their entire subplot, is them trying to find the author. However, it was really interesting because I thought they were going to do one thing, but instead they actually did something else, and so and I'm just gonna, let's talk about it because it is rather short in terms of this episode, and that being so Luce and Amity, they seemingly find the author, but it turns out it looks like it's Tiny Nose, or Tiny, it's like something, it's like, I mean, I forget what Amity said, but it's like, it's along the line of Tiny Nose. It's like Tynala Nosley, I think that's what she said. And like, I love Luce's reaction, like, wait, she's had a name this whole time? Because I mean, everyone up to this point is like, I mean, at least from what I've seen, is like refers to her as Tiny Nose. And so I just refer to her as Dana because, Dana Terrace voices her. But then it's like, no, it's not. She's not the actual author. It turns out this whole thing was a scheme by Tibbles, the freaking pig, and even Bartholomew was in on it. He's like, hey, okay, I found more books, and and I re-edited the pictures, and it's like, okay, and even Tibbles is, he's like, oh, great, it's you guys, it's you again, and he's like. So basically, the whole thing was a scheme made by Tibbles, sell the Azora books to the Demon Realm because he's like, oh, they think it's a witch, then people probably will buy them. But it turns out Amity is the only witch in the entire Boiling Isles to buy the book. And I'm like, okay, how much do I want to believe that? Because honestly, I mean, okay, even if the book series isn't as popular as, like, I don't know, Harry Potter or anything like that, I still don't believe just one person would buy the book, even if it was just exclusively on the Boiling Isles alone. Like, I feel like more than one would buy it. And so I felt really bad for Amity in that moment because I'm like, is she really the only person on this entire freaking realm to be buying these books? But so it really was a weird subplot, but I mean, I guess it's just so we can take jabs at, fan theories about stuff for movies, books, and shows, and also you get more time with Amity and Luce, just interacting with each other and just spending some time together, so I guess that was the other thing, and it was cute, it was fun, and I did enjoy it. I just felt like this doesn't really add much to the overarching story. Because in this case, really, the overarching story is Hunter and Willow in this episode. So let's go back to that. So Hunter, at first, he joins Willow's team because Willow claims that they will have the best of the witches at Hexside. So of course Hunter's like, well, I'm looking for the best of the best. So these could possibly be recruits for the Emperor's Coven. So he joins the team. However, he doesn't believe it'll work because when we get the team, it's Willow, Gus, Viney, and Scara. So at first, Hunter's like, no, these aren't the best of the best. What the heck? And so makes sense because one, Viney and her Griffin, they nearly killed Hunter earlier, so there's a reason why Hunter wouldn't like him. And then Scara is seemingly on her scroll, just texting away, so it's like, oh, she doesn't seem to really care. And so, of course, Gus, on the other hand, he's trying to fly with his staff, but he seemingly fails miserably. And so, of course, for Hunter, he's like, nope, this isn't gonna work, I'm out. However, Willow, tries to talk him back into it because she's like, you gotta at least give him a chance. And then, again, just another really deep line by Hunter that just shows so much. He's like, you have to earn a chance. I'm like, jeez. And it's like, just to earn a chance, you have to earn a chance. Like, you're not given a chance, you have to earn a chance. And it was like, that's really, man, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like that isn't a thing. Like, there's going to be situations where you really do have to earn the chance to prove yourself. But then I'm like, this is a bunch of kids just wanting to be a team, and this one guy just looks at them and is like, nah, that's not it. I'm like, come on. And so, but I do like, again, this is kind of where Willow really gets her aggressiveness, because even when Hunter was flying around and Willow was like, yes, that's the guy, you get down here. He like conjures a vine and pulls him down. Like here, Willow like parries Hunter, sends him to the Grudgeby field, and that's where the rest of the team is. So I really like when Willow is assertive with herself, because again, she doesn't want to be just letting things go and not taking her chance. And so in this case, she's like, I'm not letting the best player that I've seen get away from me. He's coming with me. And so, of course, Hunter realizes that the team actually are solid witches, because the reason why Scar was on her scroll is because she didn't know about Flyer Derby, so she wanted to read up on it and understand what it is. And all the while, Viney, she's able to get her Griffin under control, and of course, Willow points out that she is one of the best healers in freaking Hexside. And then, of course, Gus comes in flying on his staff, and Hunter's like, I thought you were terrible at it. And Gus is like, well, I'm not good with the more traditional way of flying. I have my own style. And, of course, Willow points out that Gus is kind of a speed demon with his staff. So it's like, just showing that there are skills with the players. It's just more like, they obviously, their personalities may not match what they possess on the freaking field, because think about it, when it comes to athletes, you can't just look at them and how they play and be like, oh, I can tell exactly what their personality is, because that's not how it works. So of course they do their Flyer Derby game and they win easily. There are a few moments, and I really love the music for this sequence. It's just a game, but I love the way it's animated. I love the way it's done with the show of everyone's skills. I also like that Hunter is really seemingly having fun. Like, he's smiling. There are moments where he is just really complimenting the group, and of course the group is also helping him out. And everything seems to be going nice and fun, and he even gives him a team name, the Emerald Entrails, that's what he called them, which I was like, okay, that's an interesting name. But everything seems to be going nice and dandy. They even get a team photo. Of course, I was like, wait a minute, is everyone gonna be wondering who this guy is with this palisman? I'm like, is Bella's gonna see that and be like, Hunter, give me your palisman, I need it. I was worried that's what was gonna happen, but no, it's like, Hunter shoots himself in the foot, because he's like, yes, this is great. Now we can be a part of the Emperor's Coven together. And they're like, wait, what? And he's like, I'm not. Oh yeah, by the way, this entire time he was using he was undercover name was Caleb, and I was like, okay, that's funny. Honestly, it would have been. I think it would. I guess it would have been weird if he was like Zemo or Robinson. I think that would have been weird. Because Zemo Robinson. But Caleb is still funny. But yeah, so Hunter, after seeing that, he's like, I got the best of the best, so now I can take him to the Emperor's Coven. I even love his reveal. He just takes off the Hexside suit, puts on his Golden Guard gear. He has the mask on. But of course he's like, well, it looks cooler with the cloak, because the cloak, he was trying to... the cloak is damaged, and I'm like, they don't give him a new one, or they don't repair it themselves. And he even tries to... This was an interesting thing that they mentioned, was there is apparently an original Golden Guard sigil. So I feel like there is... they even talk about the predecessor of the Golden Guard, and I'm like, so there was one beforehand? What happened to them? So, I am very intrigued about that. Granted, it might be coming towards the Grim Walkers that's been hinted multiple times throughout the freaking show. So, I don't know what the heck this could possibly mean. But yeah, so Hunter reveals himself as the Golden Guard, and even when Willow's like, you mean the Golden Guard that Luce and Amity told us about? And Hunter's like, yeah, him! And I'm like, what the freaking heck, dude? It's like, that should be like a warning sign there. It's like, if Luce and Amity told them about you, you would be like, oh, wait, But of course, like I said, he got overconfident, so he called Darius to tell him that he did this. So Darius sent in the Coven guards. They take him to the precinct to, I guess, get recruited, because I'm like, that's what you do. You just lock a bunch of kids up and then you take them on a ship and you fly them off. I'm like, what? I mean, granted, the Palisman thing makes sense, because I was like, wait, I mean, sorry. From what we saw in, from all the Emperor Coven guards that are in the Emperor's Coven, none of them have Palisman. I'm like, what happens to the Palisman? And as we get from Steve, who got punched in the face by Skara off screen, and I kind of really, I mean, one, I'm glad we didn't see it, but two, it's just worse to just imagine Skara punching freaking Steve in the face. I mean, even his mask is dented when we see him, and he's just like, yeah, that was fun. But, yeah, so Hunter realizes, of course, that this probably wasn't the right move, because, I mean, Gus, Viney, and Skara, of course, are like, we don't want to be a part of the Emperor's Coven. This is what we wanted. This is, you know, it's like, is this really the only option we have for our lives? But, of course, for Willow, she's very torn, because she thought that she made a good decision picking Hunter, but she realized that it was probably the worst thing that she could make. So, of course, that just puts a dent in her confidence and who she wants to be. And so Hunter, you know, also realizes that, you know, maybe he shouldn't be doing this. He actually made friends, and also he knows what happens to the Palisman that Emperor Bellows has. So it's like, maybe I shouldn't have done this. So Hunter goes to save the group from Darius, and at first I was worried about this, because I was like, is he gonna go full-on traitor here? Because I feel like Darius would do that. He would rat out Hunter, but this caught me off guard, actually. I was genuinely surprised that this happened. So Hunter goes in, he saves the group, he tries to make it, you know, he's like, no, I made a mistake. These guys aren't the best. They're like the worst. They're totally the worst. You don't want them. So it's like, he tries to get him out of that, and they leave, but Darius isn't fooled. He's like, so let me get this straight. You went and made friends, and then you trying against me to save them? Respect. I'm like, what? Like, that's the thing. Like, I was not ready for that. I was not ready for Darius to be, like, actually respecting Hunter for doing that. But then, of course, he then follows it up with this, like, well, I'm just glad you actually got out of the castle, made some friends. Like, geez, like, you really need that. And I'm like, okay, I did not think he would do that. I did not think Darius, I mean, granted, from what we've seen of Darius, he really is seemingly full of himself, and he doesn't want to get his hands dirty. So I guess in this situation, he's more of just, he just likes the guts that Hunter had in this situation. So I guess he gives him respect, gives him a pentagram account, which was also just a weird thing that happened. But, yeah, so, I mean, and of course, the main thing is, he isn't going to tell Bellows about Hunter going undercover at Hexside and having a Palisman, so it's like, okay. And I guess it also shows that the Coven heads may not always be the worst. Sorry, that thing just turned on. I don't know if that's going to cause anything for the video, but yeah, so Darius is really just, after our introduction to the head of the plant Coven head 2 weeks ago, I feel like she's definitely much more dangerous than what Darius is capable of. Everwolf seems to have his own thing, and honestly, he seems to be fun, but also he can be vicious if he wants to be. But for Darius here, I mean, I'm like, okay, I did not expect that, and you know what? I'm fine with that. But I mean, yeah, so Hunter has his moment there, and you know, he seemingly he both proved himself that he can be a good successor of the Golden Guard, while also being a solid friend in the moment. But of course, I mean, Willow, Gus, Viney, and Skara, they're like, oh man, I can't believe you let us, good thing you let us go. Wait, he has a pentagram account now? And it's like, wow, he types insanely slow. I'm like, wow, that is rough. But then I do like the way it ends because, you know, Luce and Amity, they find the group and they're like, wait, where were you guys doing all day? And it's like, oh, you know, we just had our fire derby thing and, oh yeah, check out our team photo. And it's like, and I love Amity and Luce's reaction. They look and they see it's Hunter and they're like, what? It's funny. It's cool. I like it. I do enjoy those little shocking moments. It's like, wait, you also met the Golden Guard? What the freaking heck is going on? But, yeah, it's great. It's awesome. And I'm happy. I mean, so, overall, this was, again, I mean, I really do like how well these Hunter episodes have been going. Because this one, I feel like, it's interesting to really see these because, honestly, I felt like the subplot with Amity and Luce, though it is funny, though it's meta, though it's very nice to see more of Lumity, in terms of the overarching story, it just doesn't really add much to it, so I'm just like, okay, this was more for just the fun of it. But it doesn't, but I mean, the Hunter Willow stuff really was cool to see, and I'm glad we're getting more of Hunter, and I'm glad we're getting more of Willow. So this really solid episode, I really liked it, and yeah, that thing too. Sorry about that. I tried to time it. I tried to really get the timing in, but I guess I mistimed it today. So hopefully that doesn't cause too much of a noise thing. And if it does, I am so sorry. But yeah, so that's everything for Amphibia this week. Amphibia Owl House this week. I'm sorry, like I said, it's morning and I'm tired, and also Amphibia, I gotta do those videos too, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, it's off. If you liked it, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, and if you want to subscribe. You don't have to, I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.